A few beers isn't going to disrupt his liver, and him resting after working his butt off for 10 consecutive years is not him crying for help. Hello, my beautiful people. It's time to dig into the serious stuff here, aka Video Essay Me. I thought I kicked off the channel officially by talking about my favorite emotional support boy, Jungkook of BTS. Now, before y'all start, he did not do anything wrong, but I figured that I could get meta as to why people are constantly in his business and why they need to stop.
Stop buzzing in my ear!
Well, someone is feeling better.
So, as you guys know, Jungkook is the youngest member of the group, debuting as a member of BTS at the ripe age of 15. Yes, he was a minor up until 2016, and yeah, what you thought happened very much happened. You see, people are gross, and notoriously, they're really gross towards minors. Yes, this conversation is not exclusive to just female idols, though it is just as gross, but male idols as well with older female fans, otherwise known as Nuna fans. I think it's important to note here that there's nothing wrong about being an older fan of Jungkook's, but we have to be respectful and see him as a human being. I still remember when Dope came out and like how many other female fans suddenly were like, he's so sexy. Like, he just barely turned 18. There were essays, theses on how not to talk about Jungkook in a manner, especially if it predated 2016. And even then, Jungkook was most definitely not an adult even at 18. I mean, there's a reason why it's still called 18 and 19, you know? Fast forward to 2020 to the present day, and Jungkook is much older and wiser in his mid-20s. Now he has a tattoo sleeve, a lip piercing, a probably closed up eyebrow piercing, as well as a totally different look from where he was before. Now, most people tend to see him as an adult, as they should, but the finger wagging has begun with the older fans, especially since February of this year when the man decided to host a live for 4 hours drinking what seems to be a normal amount of alcohol. Since then, fans have been assuming his life, ranging from armchair diagnosing him to doing a prayer circle to get him to stop being, to him dating everybody and their moms. Before I dive into this, I do want to preface that I'm not Korean, so I cannot really talk about the drinking culture there. But as a hopefully well-read person, I try my best to understand and empathize with the cultures that I'm not a part of. I think it's safe to say that having a few drinks in the span of a few hours as a late 20-something myself is unalarming, considering the fact that South Korea's weekly average is 13.7 shots of liquor per person. That is nuts to me. Jungkook downing a few beers and relaxing is normal 20-something-year-old behavior, and for those who can't relate, well, you're either too young to drink, too old to remember, or the same age that can't relate because you're in this parasocial relationship with a man. Whatever it is, you're on a struggle bus, which I guess congrats. I think what makes the whole thing infuriating is the more police knocking at the door demanding him to repent. I noticed that most of these people tend to be older fans, which as you want to circle back, a lot of them are actually Jungkook, so that's kind of weird. Jungkook is 25, almost 26 this year. I truly believe it's pretty commendable that he still has a pretty good head on his shoulders, considering that most child stars don't. We've seen that kind of stuff over and over again, not only in K-pop, but in the US and Japan and etc., where they either drink themselves to death or they start medicating themselves with and they end up in some capacity. I wouldn't have to cite that many examples for that. A few beers isn't going to disrupt his liver, and him resting after working his butt off for 10 consecutive years is not him crying for help. Someone also pointed out that he wears the same black shirt, forgetting that this guy's wardrobe is all black since we've known the guy. If one were to speculate though, it's probably the same existential crisis that we all went through in our 20-somethings, or as I like to call it, the Saturn return. Or maybe Mercury is retrograding for Jungkook, I don't know. Whatever the stars are saying. Regardless, we should not care. Just because he's the youngest doesn't mean that he should be continued to be babied by us. It's important to note that yes, Jungkook is young, but I feel like too many people point out how young he is on a daily basis. Like, yes, we get it. He got this award and that merit award at a very young and early age. He performed at the World Cup at 25, blah, blah, blah. These are for sure achievements, and I am such a proud fan for him doing that, but the hyper-focus on his age is super strange to me, almost as if people are masking Jungkook's success as their own. Yes, he has achieved so much, but it's also important to understand that this came at the cost of his youth because he couldn't get to grow as a quote-unquote normal young adult. This will obviously separate our life experiences from him. You see, We all know those child star parents who used to put their kids into television or music at a young age in hopes of them becoming successful and are usually dysfunctionally awful, but we don't talk about how we as fans do it to our young adult phase. There's a certain type of parasocial relationship that takes place when you feel like you're a part of the team, even though we literally do not know each other or the celebrity that we adore and love. It is normal though for adolescents and young adults to feel emotionally attached. A good 61% in a study said that they have. Specifically, young girls and women would be more likely to be attached to a celebrity for emotional or intimacy reasons, perhaps to fill in whatever gaps are missing in their development or what's going on in their lives right now. According to the same study, the more involved you are, the bigger the parasocial relationship becomes. So basically what I'm trying to say is that if you're really depressed or you're going through a lot in your life, you tend to probably be in a situation to where you have this parasocial relationship with this person, meaning that you will really much care about this person even though you don't know them. And if it's starting to sound like the shoe fits, it probably is. If you felt like you could dictate what Jungkook does or says, it's probably the parasocial relationship rearing its ugly head that's making you feel this way. Lastly, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. No, not the impending Calvin Klein underwear ad. We gotta focus, guys. There's also a bunch of fans that are trying to figure out who's dating. We have all seen videos of those TikToks of people speculating who this girl and that girl is from this particular place to a restaurant or something like that. Following his every movement from being at the convenience store getting a snack to having Korean barbecue. Which, side note, apparently this is his infamous barbecue tour. A fun trivia fact that still sends me into orbit every single day because why does it sound exactly like what Jungkook would do? It's getting weird here, and once you pair that up with the delusional shippers, it's a recipe for disaster. Yes, I do like the ships here and there, but doing whole analysis videos on it and spamming his live comments to prove that blank and blank is real, let's be serious for once. We don't know these people and what their relationship status is, and frankly, we should not care. Yes, Jungkook does make it easier to keep the parasocial relationship happening. He decided to deactivate his Instagram and switch over to a platform where it does look like we're on FaceTime every time he goes live. But, and this is a huge but, it is also very important for us to listen to what he says, like important things such as reestablishing boundaries between us and him.
그리고 뭐야, 내가 말 안 할라 했는데 나 응원해주고 많은 관심 보내주고 그런 거 너무 감사한데 너무 고마워요. 고마운데 나 운동할 때는 찾아오지 마세요. 저번에 깜짝 놀랐어요. 딱 집 가려고 하니까 앞에 사람들이 있더라고요. 그런 관심 너무 고마운데 어쨌든 이게 공식적인 스케줄이 아니니까 웬만해서는 그냥 아시잖아요. 맞아, 취했어요. 저 취했고 취하니까 이런 얘기 하는 거예요. 우리 다른 아미들도 맘만 먹으면 오실 수 있잖아요. 근데 이게 우리는 이렇게 서로 뭔가 지키는 그게 있잖아요. 아미들이랑 방탕이랑. 근데 이제 감사는 하지만 그렇게 전체적으로 봤을 때는 그렇게 좋은 행동은 아니다라는 거를 좀 말씀해주고 싶어요. 그냥 이런 걸 구애받지 않고 뭐 집이든 아니면 뭐 마침 식당에 가든 아니면 운동을 하고 있든 그럴 때 그냥 아미들이 생각나면 라이브를 켜가지고 좀 공유하고 싶고 그런 게 있는데 이제 라이브를 하는 도중에 좀 찾아오거나 그러면 좀 어려워지죠. 웬만해서는 좀 공식적인 자리가 아닌 이상은 좀 멀리서 응원을 해주시면 고마울 것 같아요. 갑자기 이렇게 불쑥 찾아오시면 좀 난감한 그런 게 좀 있어서 이런 얘기를 제가 언제 해요. 그리고 솔직히 옛날 같았으면 이런 얘기를 못했을 거예요. 이렇게 좀 직설적으로 못했을 것 같은데 지금은 데뷔한 지도 너무 오래됐고 이제 서로 뭐 알 거 다 알고 나도 사람이고 아미들도 사람이고.
As actor Elizabeth Scott says succinctly, quote, there comes a time when living in the limelight, the impersonation of your personality becomes so offensive that you finally said, I've had it, end quote. It is natural for celebrities to grow in the limelight for so long to start getting irritated to be seen a certain way. After all, we're multi-dimensional people. If you're seen as a certain way by thousands or even millions of people every day for 10 years, would you let that keep happening? Or would you start getting tired or be annoyed by the way you're seen?
아, 왜 술 그만 먹으래요? 나 다 큰 성인이고 지금 나이가 응? 27인데 조금이라도 젊을 때 응? 즐기는 거지.
With the current fandom climate, I think it's important to show that we love and support Jungkook no matter what he's going through. We can do this by not prying into his life, preferably not digest stalker content, and also see him as face value. Whenever he does a live, it is important to report comments that make comments about his drinking or looking more downcast as usual, reminding others that it isn't our business to know. There is a card that I'll link below that we can write encouraging message to Jungkook in Korean, or you can bother a Korean speaking person to write your own personalized message. I guess the more straight up response is, leave her alone!